Jets fire GM Joe Douglas after 5 seasons of struggles. The countdown to rebuilding phase continues. Well, Jets fans, you've been through the ringer this season. And it's not over yet. After a series of unfortunate events, the New York Jets have decided to pull the trigger and fire general manager Joe Douglas. Yes, you heard that right. Despite spending over 5 seasons with the team, Douglas, who put together one of the most talented rosters in Jets history, according to owner Woody Johnson back in October, has been shown the door. What's left in the wake of this? Another round of shakeups. More questions. And yet another, we'll get them next year, kind of vibe that Jets fans know way too well. What led to Douglas' departure? Let's break it down. Joe Douglas joined the Jets as general manager back in June 2019. And to be fair, he had a bit of a rough start. But things weren't looking entirely grim. He did manage to snag some solid draft picks, including quarterback Zach Wilson, okay, maybe that one's still up in the air, defensive end Quinnen Williams, and cornerback Sauce Gardner. And yet, despite these bright spots, there was one major thing missing: wins. And we're talking a lot of missing. In his 5 seasons as GM, Douglas never managed to put together a winning squad. Under his watch, the Jets racked up a 30-64 record. Yikes. The biggest gut punch came this season when the Jets are sitting at a rough 3-8. And while it's never easy to part ways with the guy who assembled your roster, the blame game had to be played somewhere. The decision ultimately fell on Douglas, with the front office, who's still looking for some kind of consistency, deciding it was time to pull the plug on his tenure. The timing and the Saleh firing, déjà vu? It's almost as if the Jets were trying to double down on their season of chaos. Just 6 weeks ago, on October 8th, the Jets made the decision to fire head coach Robert Saleh after a lackluster start to the season, 2-3. And now, after a 1-5 skid post-Saleh, here we are again, another firing. Another change to try and salvage the remainder of the season. And to add some spice to the whole situation, Jets owner Woody Johnson had some very glowing words for Douglas just before this all went down. On the very same day Saleh was shown the door, Johnson told reporters that Douglas had built one of the most talented teams that has ever been assembled by the New York Jets. Fast forward 6 weeks, and it seems like that comment hasn't aged well. Now, Douglas is out, and the team's 3-8 record is adding insult to injury. What's next for the Jets? Now, let's talk about what this means for the Jets moving forward. With Douglas out of the picture, Phil Savage, a senior football advisor with the team, has stepped in as the interim GM. We know Savage isn't exactly a stranger to NFL front offices, but the move still feels like a throw someone in to stop the bleeding kind of decision. The Jets now have to figure out what their future looks like, which likely means yet another round of rebuild mode. The big question: can they finally get a quarterback who can do more than just sign endorsements for hometown pizza chains? Since the days of Broadway Joe Namath, the Jets have had an embarrassing history of quarterback issues. Zach Wilson, whom Douglas chose as the future of the franchise, has been, well, not the future. With Aaron Rodgers' season-ending Achilles injury this year, it feels like the Jets' quarterback carousel has no end in sight. Will the new GM, whenever that happens, manage to finally get this position right? Who knows? But if they can't, the Jets' 2024 draft pick could end up being their next big chance to snag a real quarterback. Fingers crossed. Woody Johnson's tough choices. So, where does that leave Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, who's probably realizing that the team is slowly heading into the "I think we need another decade or two of rebuilding" territory? Johnson was faced with the tricky decision of who to blame for the team's current state. He couldn't blame Aaron Rodgers, he was basically the man they brought in to save them, only for him to go down with a major injury in week 1. That left the inevitable: Douglas was the one who built the team, and thus, he was the one held responsible. Now, we wait to see what happens with the Jets' next steps. They'll likely need to start looking for a new GM with a new vision. Whether that means another overhaul of the roster or a complete shift in how the team operates, only time will tell. What happens now? While Jets fans have been through plenty of disappointment, we're talking decades of disappointment. People, the departure of Joe Douglas represents just another chapter in what's felt like a never-ending rebuilding project. The good news? The team can technically only go up from here. But how high they can rise is still anyone's guess. As for the rest of 2023, the Jets are unlikely to make a miraculous comeback. They'll likely keep plugging away and hoping to find some bright spots amidst a disastrous season. But what happens next? That's the million-dollar question. Closing thoughts: can the Jets turn it around? So there you have it, Joe Douglas is out. And the Jets are yet again left wondering what comes next. But don't worry, Jets fans. You've been here before, right? A couple more head coaches. A few more GM firings. And who knows? Maybe the next season will be the one. We say that every year, don't we? In the meantime, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with fellow Jets fans who definitely need to talk about all this team drama. Let us know what you think about the firing of Joe Douglas in the comments below. Do you agree with the decision? Or do you think it's another, same old Jets situation? Keep the conversation going. And we'll see you next time, hopefully with some good news out of Jets camp. Disclaimer, Jets fans. We feel your pain. Hang in there.
Jets' late game decisions come back to haunt them in loss to Colts. The Jets suffered a tough 27-26 loss to the Colts on Sunday, and some controversial late game decisions contributed to the defeat. After a strong third quarter, the Jets held a 1-point lead heading into the fourth. Aaron Rodgers connected with rookie tight end Kenny Yeboah for a touchdown. And with a chance to make it a two-score game, Rodgers advocated for a 2-point conversion. However, interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich opted for the extra point, keeping the lead at just one possession. Later, with the Jets up by 2 points and just over 2 minutes remaining, they faced a crucial 4th and 2 at the Colts' 17-yard line. Rodgers wanted to go for it to seal the game, but Ulbrich chose to kick a field goal, trusting the defense to stop Indianapolis. The Jets' defense, however, couldn't hold up, as Anthony Richardson led the Colts on a quick touchdown drive to retake the lead. Ulbrich took responsibility for the decision, admitting that in hindsight, going for it on 4th down might have been the better choice. The loss dropped the Jets to 3-8, and Ulbrich expressed frustration, stating that while the team is working hard, something is missing, and the bye week will be a time to reassess their approach. Jets fall to Colts 28-27 after late lead slips away. The Jets suffered another heartbreaking loss, falling 28-27 to the Indianapolis Colts, dropping their record to 3-8. The game got off to a rough start, as the Colts jumped out to a 13-0 lead in the first half, with Anthony Richardson rushing for a touchdown and Matt Gay hitting 2 field goals. The Jets' offense struggled early, failing to score a touchdown on their first 3 drives and gaining only 10 passing yards before halftime. However, the Jets mounted a comeback in the second half. Breece Hall scored 2 touchdowns, including a 29-yard catch and run and an 18-yard rushing TD, giving the Jets a 14-13 lead. After a 58-yard field goal by Anders Carlson, the Jets extended their lead to 24-22 with an 11-yard touchdown from backup tight end Kenny Yeboah. Despite those efforts, Richardson led the Colts on a game-winning drive, capped off by his second rushing touchdown with 46 seconds left, sealing the Colts' victory. Aaron Rodgers finished 22 of 29 for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the Jets couldn't capitalize on their opportunities, once again failing to close out a late lead.